It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
The Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero. It's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening. I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on beautiful St. Simons Island in Georgia. Check out his website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. We'll give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Holiday Inn and all of their properties. If you got to go stay someplace, stay at a Holiday Inn. My favorites, Holiday Inn Resort, and of course the Holiday Inn Express. Now listen, we can save you some money on your next stay at a Holiday Inn property. That's right, just call our toll-free number, 844-603-0364, 844-603-0364, or just click the Holiday Inn banner up on BillyCBoxing.com. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold, and you can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to this show. Just visit barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. And if you're looking to get a signed copy, just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the book. Now listen, if you want to get multiple copies signed, we love you. Send me an email, billy@talkinboxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. Happy Memorial Day to everybody. We are doing a show. It may not be the full length, but we are doing a show. We may even open up the phone lines a little later. So if you're up and about and you want to get your comments, questions, or thoughts heard, come on over to one of our chat rooms. Our main chat room right now is the one over on YouTube. So if you're watching us on another stream or simulcast on Facebook or wherever, make sure you check out the YouTube stream. That's the same exact version of this show that we upload to the television networks and stuff. So you want to get part of that. Anyway, let's get going. First and foremost, what I want to talk about a little bit later is something we've kind of touched on it. Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson was pardoned by President Donald Trump last week, towards the end of the week. And to tell you the truth, it was a long time coming. I believe that Jack Johnson never should have been forced to step foot in a jail, let alone wait over 100 years to get pardoned. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. Also, I want to talk about some fight results from the weekend. First and foremost, let's get the Filipino battle. This was the first time two Filipino fighters fought each other in almost 100 years, 93 years to be exact. And they fought, as you would expect, in the Philippines, right? Wrong. Nope. They fought in California, Fresno, California. But nonetheless, the fight was a good one. It was pretty entertaining. Jerwin, Pretty Boy, and Kajas, and I apologize if I am mispronouncing that, improved to 28 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, with 19 of his wins coming by knockout when he won a unanimous decision over Jonas Sultan, who drops to 14-4. 119, 109 twice, 117, 111, all in favor of Ancajas. So an exciting fight there. Also, some other fights that took place over the weekend in the Superfly division. The WBA Superfly champion Khalid Yafi improved to 24-0 with 15 knockouts when he scored a 7th-round stoppage over David Carmona. David Carmona, different guy, who drops to 21-6-5 with 9 of his wins coming by knockout. What happened was he took a severe beating in the 5th round, being dropped. Again, it picked up in the 6th, and then the 7th round when David Carmona went back to his corner. He never came out, so officially it goes down as a 7th round TKO. One other thing to mention about this fight, Carmona came in well over the weight limit, 3.6 pounds over, and Yafi still went on with the fight, which was risky because if he would have lost the fight, he actually would have lost his title, even though Carmona was in no position to win the title. So anyway, Argenis Mendez, this was actually, to be honest with you, the Ancajas fight was one that I had my eye on, but I was also looking at the Argenis Mendez fight, the former champion. He moved up to junior welterweight, and he got back in the ring, scored a 10-round unanimous decision over Eddie Ramirez to improve to 25 wins, 5 losses, and a draw. Ramirez drops to 17-2. The way the judges scored it, 98-88, 97-89, and 99-87, all within the realm of being close. And the return of J'Leon Love, I haven't heard much about J'Leon Love, and maybe the level of opposition that he fought is an indication why. J'Leon Love improved to 24 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw when he scored an 8-round. That's right, he only fought an 8-round fight. Unanimous decision over Jamie Barbosa, who drops to 19-15. J'Leon Love was a highly touted prospect when he came busted onto the scene. Not so much anymore. He was almost dropped early in this fight, but came back and won. Now, if you recall, in September of last year, the last time he fought, Abby Hahn and him fought to a technical draw. So still waiting for J'Leon Love to kick it into a higher gear. Also, some fights that took place on Friday. Unbeaten Cuban Olympian from 2008, Robert Alfonso, improved to 16-0 with 7 knockouts when he stopped Mike Bissett in the 2nd round. Bissett drops to 14 wins, 11 losses, and a draw. This was a card that was fought in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, on the Alabama Boxing Hall of Fame ceremonies. The co-main event on this card, Keandre Leatherwood improved to 21-5-1 when he beat Julio Garcia in a 6-round fight. Garcia drops to 25-7-2. And as has been the case lately, we're keeping you posted on all of the heavyweight action. And heavyweight Terrell Jamel Woods improved to 17 wins and 41 losses with 7 draws when he won a 4-round majority decision over Rodney Moore, who drops to 18-16-2. Rodney Moore fought on one of my cards years ago. They used to call him Rockin' Rodney Moore. But he lost to Terrell Jamel Woods, 17-41-7. Usually you don't see those kinds of records unless you're fighting in the UK. But, hey, we're talking about Alabama and a new fairly new formed boxing commission. Also on Friday night, in a big fight, Naoya Inoue improved to 16-0 with 14 knockouts, picking up his third world title belt, this time the WBA's version of the bantamweight, when he beat Jamie McDonald, who was the champ. Jamie McDonald drops to 29-3-1, and he also had no decision with 13 knockouts. Jamie McDonald hit the deck twice and then was finally stopped at 1 minute and 52 seconds of the first round. Talk about Inoue's nickname, the Monster. It shows that's the case. Remember, Inoue had to win this fight in order to participate in the World Boxing Super Series bantamweight tournament, which is going to be taking place. And at the end of the fight, he says, I'm participating in the World Boxing Super Series to face other world champions with pleasure. Once again, this is what really bothers me about boxing here in the United States. It seems that most of the fighters that are willing to take the risks, et cetera, are from every country but the United States. So congratulations to Inoue. I'm looking forward to seeing how he fares. Remember, he just moved up in weight, so we'll see what happens with him. Also on this card, the WBC junior flyweight champion Shiro Ken improved to 13-0 with 7 knockouts when he stopped Ganigan Lopez. I love watching Ganigan Lopez. I was shocked that this fight was the outcome was the way it was. 1 minute and 58 seconds of the second round is when Ken stopped Ganigan Lopez. So Lopez drops to 29-8. Some other things I wanted to talk about. We'll give you the. I got some fights that I wanted to mention that will be coming up that are worth mentioning. But first, let's finish with the schedule. On Friday in Poland, Artur Szpilka improved to 21-3 with 15 knockouts when he scored a 10-round unanimous decision over 43-year-old American Dominic Gunn. And Dominic Gunn dropped to 35-12-1. I got to be honest, when I saw it, the reason why I mentioned 43 is I thought he was much older than that. I mean, Dominic Gunn has been fighting for a long time. Szpilka ended his two-fight losing streak. If you recall, he was brutally knocked out by Deontay Wilder and then stepped in the ring with Adam Kownacki, or the way they pronounce it is Kownacki, and was stopped there. So we'll see what happens. Gunn hadn't been in the ring for 2 years when he went the distance with Hughie Fury. Another heavyweight on that card, Isabu Yuganov, improved to 18-1 with 15 knockouts when he scored a second-round stoppage over Fred Cassie, who drops to 18-8-1. His only loss came at the hands of Dominic Breazeale a little over a year ago. Cassie, on the other hand, although he's been on TV and been in some big fights, his last 7 fights have not fared too well for Big Fred. 0-6-1. So that's what took place there. The heavyweight roundup. This is in case you're new to the show or in case you're just joining us after being away for a little bit. We've been keeping you updated on the heavyweight boxing scene. One of the things that always bother me is when, especially now, when we have such a high interest or resurgence, so to speak, in the heavyweight division. I figure, why don't we start mentioning these heavyweights so that we can at least have heard their name when all of a sudden they magically appear in the rankings and get a world title shot. So heavyweight roundup from Friday and Saturday. We'll start with most recent first. Saturday in Australia, Joseph Goodall improved to 2-0 when he stopped Barry Pryor in the first of a scheduled 4-round fight. Pryor actually suffered a leg injury and prompted the TKO victory for Goodall. Pryor drops to 1-4-2. Also on that card, Bermain Tassil, making his pro debut a successful one, is now 1-0 when he knocked out Martin Tavuli, who was also making his pro debut in the first round of a scheduled 4-round fight. Tavuli drops to 0-1. Out of Canada, on the what happened? I thought I had that. I thought I had that fight about. What did I pass by it? Let me see. Because I guess I don't. I guess I misplaced it or didn't. Let me see. I guess I messed up and didn't have that one included. I'm sorry, but the bottom line was David. I don't. I'm shocked that I don't have it because this was on the undercard. Anyway, he fought. Let me just tell you, the Quebec. We had 2 fights on the heavyweight division out of Quebec. Man, it must be a holiday today. Arslanbek Makhmudov improved to 3-0 when he stopped Elder Hernandez in the first of a scheduled 4-round fight. Hernandez drops to 5-2. Also on that card, Dominic Musil improves to 3-0 when he won a 4-round unanimous decision over Tomas Marazak, who drops to 10-69 with 6 draws. In Finland, Gunnar Kolbeinn Christensen improved to 10-0 when he won a 6-round decision over Gennady Metskikian, who drops to 5-2. How about in Germany? I love this arena, Work Your Champ Arena in Hamburg, Germany. Aurelius Bozius, making his pro debut a successful one, improves to 1-0 when he won a 4-round majority decision over Milos Lak-Pavic, who drops to 0-5. In Norway, Simon Naslayer improved to 4-0 when he stopped Tamas Shadivili in the third of a 4-round scheduled fight. Shivili drops to 3-8-1. In the Corn Exchange Arena in the UK, Fabio Wardley improved to 4-0 when he knocked out Frenzek Zalek in the first of a scheduled 6-round fight. Zalek drops to 21 wins, 69 losses, and 6 draws. Also out of the UK, George Dannett improved to 12 wins, 27 losses, and 7 draws when he stopped the favorite in this fight, Chris Burton, in the first round of a scheduled 4-round fight. Burton drops to 15-3. In Biloxi, Mississippi, Effie Ajiba improved to 5-0 when he knocked out Del Long in the first of a scheduled 6-round fight. Long drops to 5-3-2. Excuse me. In Belarus, Zan Kazobutsky improved to 5-0 when he stopped Gotita Gordzales in the second round of a scheduled 6, and it's not Gordzales, it's Gord something. Belarus they have tough names to pronounce. He drops to 38-26. From Friday night in Canada, Aman Ojulia, making his pro debut, improved to 1-0 when he knocked out Kevin Robertson in the first round of a scheduled 4-round fight. Robertson drops to 0-3. In France, Cyril Loniet improved to 14-10 with 3 draws when he stopped Jean-Francis Travari, making in the second of his scheduled 6th round, making his new record 5-24. In Poland, Richard Bigas improved to 13-6 when he stopped Marcin Najman in the 4th round of a scheduled 6. Najman drops to 15-5. And in South Africa, Vladislav Serenko improved to 7-0 when he stopped Alik Gago in the very first round. Gago drops to 5-2. So that's what took place there. Listen, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I got a couple of fights that are coming up, and also I want to talk about the Jack Johnson pardoning, which I think is a long time coming. One thing I did want to make a point, and I didn't have it. David Lemieux on that Quebec card, he won his fight, couldn't make weight again. He was 162 pounds in the middleweight fight. He's making plans to move up in weight to 168. I don't know, man. 168 for David Lemieux. I think David Lemieux's dedication to the sport just doesn't exist. And I think when you look at David Lemieux, that's what you got to start thinking about. That this guy just isn't putting in the work. And unless you stand right in front of him and let him knock you out, he's beatable. I don't think he's making a smart move by going to 168, that's for sure. We're going to take a short break. I'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioner, $400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't repair and replacement bills like these. Bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
Remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4004. Listen to.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back? Call Back Brace America at 100-290-8300.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today on this Memorial Day, and it's not looking too great where I am, but a couple of fights I wanted to mention, a couple of good fights I want to mention that are coming our way. It was announced over the weekend that Regis Prograis, who's 21-0 with 8 knockouts, is going to be taking on, well, I guess he's now an interim champion. He's going to be taking on fellow undefeated fighter Juan Jose Velasco, who's 20-0 with 12 knockouts, taking place July 14th in New Orleans. I like this fight. This is a pretty good fight, and I'll tell you what, the co-main event is just as even, in my opinion. Teofimo Lopez, who's 9-0 with 7 knockouts in the lightweight division, is taking on William Silva, who's only been once beaten in a 10-round fight. So this fight card looks pretty good out of New Orleans. It's actually on the campuses of the University of New Orleans. So July 14th. I wish I could go down to New Orleans and check that one out live. Also, Denis Shakirov, 38 wins, 4 losses, and a draw. He was a former world title challenger, is taking on Hector Suarez, who's 12-6-1. I like this fight too, to tell you the truth. I know it's not a glamorous fight, but it's one to keep an eye on. Shakirov is Abel Sanchez trains Shakirov, so I would keep an eye on that fight and work on that one. That's for sure. That's going to be an entertaining one. I got some emails to read, but first let's talk a little about the Jack Johnson pardon. You know, Jack Johnson, in my opinion, was one of the greatest fighters of all time. I mean, you know, as much as I criticize Floyd Mayweather's style for being a boring fighter when it comes to that, well, Jack Johnson in his day was considered a boring fighter. But the big difference was Jack Johnson dominated his opponents and toyed with them. He was described sometimes as a big cat, and the reason is because if you've ever watched a cat who is kicking the butt out of a mouse or kicking the crap out of the mouse, and then they kind of get bored and they just bat it around a little bit, and then the mouse tries to get away, and then he goes back after them, you know, until he gets bored and then just kills the thing. Well, that was the way Jack Johnson used to fight. Jack Johnson used to fight in a manner in which he was so much better than his opposition that he would get bored in the ring. And during a time when, we talk about racial tensions today, and a lot of people talk about it in the early 60s when it would reached, big proportion. Well, in this era, in the early 1900s, it was different because, the bottom line is slavery had been, removed, 40 years earlier, but there was still segregation. There was still most people in the U.S. felt that African Americans were second-class citizens, etc. What always I admired about Jack Johnson was he refused to accept that. He refused to accept that he was a second-class citizen. And, when fighters wouldn't fight him, when they wouldn't cross what they called the color line at that time, Jack Johnson would get pissed. And most people focused on him. There was several big fights during his career. One was against Sam Langford that they wanted to make. Sam Langford, felt that a lot of people felt that Sam Langford could give Jack Johnson not only a good fight, but even beat him. But the problem was Jack Johnson was pretty smart in the fact that he knew that he couldn't make as much money fighting a guy like Sam Langford as he could fighting white opponents. And the white hope, the great white hope, was created. They kept trying to find white fighters to take the title from Jack Johnson, and they never did. Now remember, James Jeffries was the champion who retired because he felt there was nobody good enough in the heavyweight division to fight him. Now, during the time when Jack Johnson was on his rise and tried to fight James Jeffries and he wouldn't fight him because he wouldn't fight a black man, fast forward, Jack Johnson wins the title. And now, in the press, we're talking about in the press, you got the one that sticks out the most for me is Jack London, because Jack London was wrote this short essay about boxing, which hooked me as a kid to the sport before I even watched a fight. It was called The Piece of Steak, and to this day it's my favorite short story on boxing. And if you need a copy of it, let me know. I have it in Word format I could send to you. But Jack London would go in the papers and say, come on, James Jeffries, come out of retirement, save the white race from Jack Johnson. And you know, talk about printing negative comments. I mean, they had no problem using the N-word or anything in print. Jack Johnson, it infuriated him. And he wanted James Jeffries to come out of retirement. And then they started saying, because remember, when James Jeffries retired, he appointed the two guys that were going to fight for his title that he was giving up. He picked them out and actually reffed the fight, okay? So in a sense, people started saying that he was still the champion because he never physically lost the title in the ring. And that's when that all came around. And finally, after several years, they coaxed James Jeffries, who was very comfortable and overweight, I might add, on his alfalfa farm in California, to come out of retirement and save the white race against Jack Johnson. Didn't work out. Jack Johnson kicked the crap out of him. And, mainly they stopped the fight before Jack Johnson knocked him out cold. One of the most famous pictures you see is James Jeffries trying to lift himself up with the ropes with his back towards Jack Johnson. And, that was pretty much when the cops accept the fact that he was considered a second-class citizen. He eventually went and is prevent prostitution from happening, where you would get somebody that would pick up a prostitute in one state and bring her over across lines and maybe get her some work on the other line. And they were trying to prevent this from happening. And that's what the Mann Act was incorporated to do. Now, when they arrested Jack Johnson on this charge, the woman in the car with him was a prostitute by definition, but she was also his wife. So the issue here was they arrested him for actually bringing a prostitute across state lines, but it was his wife. So he ended up not showing up for court. And was sentenced to jail in Leavenworth, Texas, and he left. He fled the country and started a campaign of defending this title outside the U.S. And the U.S. officials said, "You ever come back here, you're going to face some time." And that's exactly what happened over a course of time, including Jack Johnson eventually losing his title in Cuba. He ended up coming back to the States and set up a thing where he was going to come back. His mom had passed. He didn't get to see her. And he came back to the States, and sure enough, they arrested him, and he served 10 months in a jail for that. Now, during the sentence, during his time, I should say, they definitely gave him some decent treatment. I mean, he was a celebrity still. But my opinion was always that he never should have been forced to go to jail. Really, he never should have. They should have maybe fined him, if that. He should have never been arrested, to be honest with you. But the worst part of this story is that it took all the way until 2018 for him to be pardoned. It would have been nice for him to have seen that he was respected to a degree. Even his last day on this earth, he was attending some fights, and he was driving back from the fights, and he stopped at a diner to get a bite to eat, him and his buddy. And the diner at this time, and this was in the 40s, wouldn't serve him because he was black. Said he had to sit at a different section of the restaurant. He refused, got so pissed off that he and his buddy left, and he was driving like a maniac and got into a car wreck and ultimately died on the operating table. So in a sense, we could blame our own government for his death, because the truth of the matter is that we shouldn't have had that kind of BS going on in this country for as long as it did. And for all the presidents that came after Jack Johnson, and this wasn't a new situation. This didn't cross just Donald Trump's desk. It was renewed with Senator McCain several years back, and some presidents did not pardon him, including Obama. A lot of people felt that the first black president should one of his things should have been to pardon Jack Johnson. He did pardon other people, not Jack Johnson. And at the time when he was put on the spot and asked about it, he says, well, we don't really focus our time on pardoning past people that are no longer with us. We kind of leave that in the hands of the group, the presidential group at that time, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought he dropped the ball, personally. I thought he dropped the ball. I mean, him as a president was a significant achievement in terms of the United States having its first black president, et cetera. Personally, I didn't think he did anything for us as a country, but he certainly helped a lot of things that you could look at from a humanitarian point of view. And one of the things should have been for him to pardon Jack Johnson. It's ironic that the guy who's accused of being prejudiced is the guy who signed the paper. And the guy who talked him into it and told him about Jack Johnson was Sylvester Stallone. Now, I just want to say this before we take a break. I'm kind of surprised. Donald Trump claims that he never knew the story of Jack Johnson. I find that hard to believe. Anybody that is a boxing fan kind of knows the story of Jack Johnson. I mean, it is one of those things that everyone kind of learns about, whether they are trying to or not. And Donald Trump wasn't just a boxing fan. This guy was a big-time player in the 80s in the sport. Atlantic City at his casino, motel, whatever. Trump's Plaza was a big place. Mike Tyson fought under Trump's banner for a while. So for him to say he didn't know anything about it and thank Sylvester Stallone for straightening him out, I find that strange. Hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. A little bit more on Jack Johnson when I come back.
Billy C will be right back.
Relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
Similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Hologram USA presents a proposal to all investors. Hologram USA is an innovative three-dimensional patented technology that shifted the paradigm in media technology. Our patented hologram technology that brought you Tupac and Coachella, Whitney Houston, Billie Holiday, and many more is integrating live performances to bring your favorite past and present entertainers beyond your imagination. Invest in the patented technology before the banks scoop up all the stock. Invest in Hologram USA today. Hologram USA Flagship Theater, located on Hollywood Boulevard's Walk of Fame, is the first of many to come. Call now to be part of the explosive growth. Pick up the phone. Dial the number on your screen now. Invest in Hologram USA today. Call the number on your screen right now to learn about this investment opportunity.
Call 800. Answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
Undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. Hey, listen, we're going to open up the phone lines. Give me your thoughts on Jack Johnson's pardon. 845-228-8710. One thing I wanted to mention, many presidents since Jack Johnson had the opportunity. Bill Clinton was another one that failed to do the right thing. Donald Trump gets the credit. And, you know, my man Jason was in one of the chat rooms right now, and he says, you know, what does it really mean? And the truth of the matter is it really doesn't mean anything for Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson, unfortunately, is long gone. But what it does from a historical perspective is it cleans the slate. And his niece, great-great-niece, I think, or some relative, Ms. Hayward, was involved with the official signing of the pardoning, along with Deontay Wilder and Lennox Lewis and Sylvester Stallone and Suleiman. Were all there in the office. But she said that the family has had to live in disgrace for generations since then. You know, it makes me wonder, you know, how much one individual that might be a bad apple, so to speak, and I'm not suggesting Jack Johnson was, although he was no saint. You know, the truth of the matter is you know, you get somebody that is part of a family and goes to jail for something. You know, what's the ramifications for the rest of the family? You know, are they suffering? Are they being looked down upon? You know, and for how long? Forever? You know, I could see. You know, during that time, there, you know, the worst part about Jack Johnson's era was that there were a lot of, like, if you were a black American in the United States during that time, the Jim Crow America, and you wanted to see other black Americans be successful, you kind of had to do it in silence, because if you showed any kind of happy emotion or something, you know, then you get the group of guys that would want to shoot you down, that felt that you were a second-class citizen. This is what I admired so much about Jack Johnson. He refused to accept that. And during Jack Johnson's reign, at first, a lot of fellow black Americans would root for him and find themselves, you know, getting beat up or even worse, killed. So a lot of them didn't like what Jack Johnson was doing because they didn't look at it as breaking through. They looked at it as creating difficulty for themselves, which I think that today nobody looks at it like that. Like, for example, the Colin Kaepernick whole charade that's been going on, I'm totally against it. Not because of what he tried to stand for, because I totally support. I was a fan of Colin Kaepernick, but his choice of how to make a statement was wrong. And now it's even worse. I read somewhere, and this has nothing to do with Jack Johnson, but I read somewhere that there are actual football players that are willing to not sign until somebody signs Kaepernick, and Eric Reid is another one now that's looking for a job. Now, I say this, that is a very unintelligent thing to do. And I'll tell you why. First of all, if it's about a racially motivated thing, you deal with that in whichever way you can, okay? You stand up for yourself, you make a statement, whatever. That's what Colin Kaepernick started out to do. He made a very bad decision in how he chose to do it, okay? You don't attack the country you live from and our national anthem. That's my opinion. But here's the other part of it. How would you, forget about the color of the skin, forget about anything. When you look at a football team, we're talking about football, when you look at an American football team and a coach and an owner, they're looking at building that roster. They want to look for the best possible players they can, okay? And they pick them out, right? You have a pool of available players, and they pick out the ones that they're interested in. And then they start looking at the statistics. And then the argument is, are there 65 worse quarterbacks than Colin Kaepernick? Because there's, I guess 65 quarterback positions or whatever. And most people say no, that there's not 65 worse, that he's better. But when you look at the statistics from Colin Kaepernick for his last 2 years that he played, they've sunk deep. That's number one. Number two, do you bring in a player that is automatically going to cause some issues in your locker room with people, whether you let him, kneel during the national anthem or not? That's not even the issue. It's what is the impact going to be made on the rest of that locker room? Do you bring in that? And the answer is no, you don't. So as much as you want to try and make a statement for equality and everything else, which I support, you got to be careful how you do it. And you can't really criticize the team owners for trying to avoid putting themselves in a tough situation. Because let me tell you something, locker rooms in professional sports are a really important place. If you have division in a locker room, you don't have a winning team. Name one team that had problems amongst themselves that went on to succeed and win a championship. I can't see any in the history. So, I think that, the time of Jack Johnson and what he went through compared to what people are complaining about now is apples and oranges. But I'm glad to see that he was finally pardoned. I'm glad to see that the record was straightened out, even though it was 100 years after the fact. But it is what it is. So, Jack Johnson, if you have any thoughts on that, you want to talk about it, I do have the phone line open. Or if you have any other thoughts about anything, give us a call, 845-228-8710. If not, drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. And I'm curious to know, where you're watching or listening to. I asked that, and I want to thank everyone that's sent me an email on that. And a lot of people that interact with this show are seemingly listening to us on a podcast or watching us on YouTube or on demand. The radio stations, we also get a lot of people talking to us and saying they heard us, they watched us on TV, blah, blah, blah. But the interaction is less. So if you're watching us on a television network that we're on, or if you're listening to us via a radio station, you're listening to us on terrestrial radio, take a minute and drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. I want to hear from you, and I want to hear where you're watching and listening to. the show from? I'm curious to know. So let us know, will you? Take a minute, man. I know you're busy, but take a minute. Got some emails. Speaking of emails, got some emails to read right now. First one is the first one's from Raheem. He says, "Good morning, Billy C. I was happy to see President pardon Johnson. It's sad that other presidents didn't do so until this, but this president showed that he's a humble person who's concerned about this matter. I voted for President Trump because he showed in The Apprentice how to get things done, and he was a promoter in boxing. 4 more years, I can't wait to vote again." You could say a lot of things about Donald Trump. One is not that he's a humble guy, but whatever you want to say. The other thing, too, is, the guy himself, and this is just my opinion, Donald Trump, the man, is a very unlikable guy. I mean, how do you like a guy that's so pompous and stuff? But from a business perspective, and people could say what they want about him, but I tell you, some of the things that he says are not presidential. In other words, normally a person in that position shouldn't say the "I know you are, but what am I" type of things that he says. But I don't think he's doing a terrible job. And, I can't stand the people that go against him for just because, and they don't know the reasons, or they're too young to understand the workflow process, etc. And the other thing is I can't stand when people look at former President Barack Obama and make him look so great, when really the country itself was in terrible shape when he was there. I mean, you have to look at the shape of the country to determine how a president is doing their job. I don't think a president needs to be the type of person that everybody loves. It certainly helps when re-election time comes, but I just care about the job they're doing. And right now, as far as I'm concerned, he's doing an okay job. As far as this whole pardoning Johnson, let's call a spade a spade. I think Donald Trump did that for PR. I really do. I'm sorry. I really do. As much as I'm happy that he did it, and I'm happy that Jack Johnson finally got some respect, I think he did it to get some PR, some positive PR. But that's my opinion. And I'm surprised you're going to vote for him again, Raheem. He's going to be like 105 if he runs again. But who else is going to run? I mean, for the Republicans anyway, if you even want to consider him a Republican. He says, on another topic, Joshua Wilder, is it going to happen this year? I hope so. And it's too bad that Joshua's team is, I think, trying not to make the fight because of politics. But Wilder can still go for Marciano's record, and that would be great. It's just too bad that Joshua is doing what Pacquiao's team did in negotiations when Wilder has the better record and more knockouts. Raheem, I love that you interact with this show as often as you do, but I don't understand your thinking. First of all, Manny Pacquiao, it was Floyd Mayweather 100% in the negotiations with Pacquiao. Floyd wanted everything. And the same thing is happening with Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. Forget about wins. Forget about knockouts. If you're going to look at something today with boxing, the two main things, and don't get me wrong, I don't agree with this because I think that the best fighters should be what we call the A side. But today, the two major things that they look at is, number one, how popular of a fighter are you? And if you are more popular than your opponent, well, then you're going to be the A side. The other part is how many belts you got, man. Now, I'm a firm believer that the amount of belts that we have has devalued the fact that you become a belt holder. So the only thing that you have, years ago there was only one champion in every division. So when you were a world champion, you accomplished something great. Today it's a lot easier to get a world title. Not only are there 32 weight divisions, you got 5 major sanctioning bodies who have up to 5 world champions in each weight class. So I mean, it's there's almost not enough fighters to go around to fill all the belts, So the only thing that you can judge is say, well, if one fighter has 3 belts and the other guy has 2, the guy with 3 belts is should be the A side. At least that's my opinion. But Deontay Wilder is not a popular fighter. He should be, but he's not. As far as breaking Marciano's record, that is something that is within Deontay Wilder's reach. And that is something that would be substantially significant because that 49-0 is only significant to the heavyweight division. So, and I've said this before, Raheem, if Deontay Wilder's main goal is to break Marciano's record, he could do that without fighting Anthony Joshua. As a matter of fact, he could do that. He's got 10 fights to make 50-0, and he could probably do that in 3 years. All right, he's not doing it any sooner than that. It will take him 3 years to fight to get to 49-0 or 50-0. Okay, and he could fight slugs for 3 years, 3 times a year for 3 years. All right, and make and break that record. But my question is this: how much money can he make fighting the slugs 3 times a year for 3 years? All right. If we go by, let's say he's got 10 fights, and let's just say he makes $2.5 million per fight fighting a slug, because that's the highest he's ever made before. So you add that up over 3 years, 10 fights, $25 million. All right. So that's a legitimate path to take. You could say, listen, you're going to fight for 3 more years. You're going to fight 3 times a year and 1 time 4 times a year, or you're going to stretch that 50th fight out to the 4th year. So you're going to fight between 3 and 4 years. You're going to fight between 9 and 10 fights, averaging 3 fights a year, and 1 fight in the 4th year. And you're going to make $25 million, and you're going to break the record. So you say, okay, that's 3 or 4 years down the road, $25 million. That's pretty good. I'm never going to make that much in 4 years, right? So that could be a route that they take. And they could, all the hands in his pockets could be saying, you know what, this is the slow and steady approach. This is the safety first approach. Deontay can beat these slugs, and that's that. Now you look at the other side of the coin. The other side of the coin is the 49-0 record worth it financially? $25 million. We're just throwing numbers. We're saying $25 million over 3 or 4 years, and we're saying, and by the way, even a slug can land a lucky punch. Okay, so that's 4 years, etc., etc. And then after you beat the record, what is that going to be worth? Is he going to be able to keep making money as the heavyweight who beat Rocky Marciano's record? Will he make other money with appearances and stuff like that? And you look at that dollar amount. Let's say he retires at 50-0. Can he make money continuously for the rest of his life because he's 50-0? Now look at the other side of the coin and see a fight with Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, he could conceivably make more than $25 million, or at least $25 million, in one fight. One fight. And if he plays his cards right, like I've suggested for months now, that they should sign a 3-fight deal, 2 against each other, and 1 that they can have against whoever in the middle. You sign a 3-fight deal, and that could take place over 2 years, all right? And Deontay Wilder would be in a position to make I would think no less over that 2-year period in those 3 fights, probably close to $80, $90 million when all is said and done. All right? Almost, 3 times the amount of what he could make over a 4-year span fighting 10 fights. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. And I don't think Anthony Joshua is afraid or anything like that. I think that it's all about numbers, and Deontay is demanding things that he shouldn't be. Thanks for the email, Raheem. This next one's from my man Mitch. He says, I guess the ESPN brass watches the Talking Boxing with Billy C show too today, and this was sent last week. Today you mentioned Anthony Joshua being more popular than Deontay. Sal always hesitates to believe that every time you say it, but the same day you mention it, ESPN releases the list below. He says, well, look into your crystal ball, and ESPN has validated your point. Look at the list below. To make this list means a lot. It's not just boxing. It's the biggest names of sports. What this is the world-famous sports list that ESPN put out. And I got to be honest, a lot of the people on this list, I'm not a huge soccer fan. I'm not a huge tennis fan. I like women's tennis, but, rugby, cricket, some of these guys that are on this. But let's take a look at the boxers in the top 100. Floyd Mayweather is number 14. Now, this is, people who know you, the amount of money you made, what your worth is, et cetera, et cetera. Most famous. Floyd's number 14, the highest boxer, either current or previous, that's on the list. The next, he's not a boxer, but I guess we could call him a boxer. He did fight one boxing event. Conor McGregor is number 18. Then you got to go all the way to the next guy, who is Anthony Joshua at number 46. Canelo's 58. Triple G is 61. Pacquiao still in the top 100 at number 63. Vladimir Klitschko is number 74. Most of the names on this list in American sports are basketball players. LeBron James is up there in the top 3, I think. But the point is Deontay Wilder is not on this list. He's not in the top 100. He's not even in the tops in known American sports athletes. So, and AJ to be number 46. First of all, Floyd to be number 14 is great. And Conor McGregor to be number 18 is also great. But to be number 46 ahead of Canelo and Triple G, I think is a great feat. That's for sure. But anyway, hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, we got another email, and I got a couple of other things that I want to talk about. So don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free. Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
Similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, Get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today on this Memorial Day. One more email I want to read. This is from my man Joel, and he says, hey, Billy C., I hope you are enjoying your Memorial Day weekend. What fights, if any, did you watch this weekend? It wasn't a very busy weekend, but I'm curious what you watched. Nothing. I watched nothing this week, to be honest with you. It's the first time in I can't remember how long that I chose not to watch any boxing on TV. I had some things going on, and like Joel mentions here, there was nothing that really interested me. The Ann Kodja's fight, and I pronounce this poor guy's name, Jerwin's fight, was one I would have liked to have seen. And I'll tell you another fight I'm probably not going to be watching when it comes up in a couple of weeks is the Terrence Crawford Jeff Horn fight. And I tell you, I don't like what they're doing with this ESPN Plus. I get it, all right? What they've done is they've eliminated the middleman, so they're making more money. In other words, when we see fights on television, what's happening is the TV distributors, you know, your cable company, your dish company, whatever, however you're getting your television service piped into your house, they charge the promoters and the producers, whatever, to distribute. So they get a cut. So you do a pay-per-view, you charge $50, and then that cable network or dish network, the television provider, they're getting a cut of that. So when the smoke clears, you know, your revenue stream is cut. What they're doing, what ESPN is doing, is they're doing a direct service to the consumer. They're eliminating the middleman, the distributor, which is great for ESPN. There's a great revenue stream for them. But it's not so great for the fight fan. And I'll tell you why. I'm not so sure. And maybe it's because I haven't cut the cord yet, so to speak, with, you know, I don't have cable, but I have satellite service. And I enjoy watching my shows on television. I don't like watching them on a handheld. Now, I get it that most TVs today are internet ready and you can get all the streaming television shows on your TV, and this would be a good opportunity for you. But a guy like me who doesn't have that right now, and a lot of other people I'm sure are the same way, for me to watch ESPN Plus, I'd have to watch it on my phone. And I don't want to watch a fight on my phone. I wouldn't even want to watch a fight on a tablet. All right, I want to watch it on my television screen. All right, so I probably won't be watching that fight. I say that now, but we'll see what happens. But anyway, he says, I was disappointed to see David Lemieux miss weight, making 162, but I don't think he should move up to 168. He will be too small. I'm glad he won his fight in Quebec, though, against Kareem Archer, and he got a W back in the win column. I agree. I don't think that David Lemieux should be fighting at 168 at all. I think that this guy is clearly not a dedicated fighter. I think that I've seen him live a bunch of times. And, the last fight I saw him live was at the Turning Stone. And let me tell you, he looked fat. I mean, he looked pudgy. And, I've spoken to some of his trainers, past and present. And they'll say the same thing. The guy is not, he doesn't come to the gym. They got to beg him to get to the gym. And, when fighters move up in weight because they can't make weight anymore, because they're growing into their bodies, they're aging, et cetera, you can't fault them. But when fighters move up in weight because they don't want to put the work in at the gym, I got a problem with that. And I will tell you this, that I don't think David Lemieux is going to be very successful at 168. I mean, even a bigger middleweight in Arthur Abraham, although he did win a title, wasn't as successful in the super middleweight division as he was in the middleweight division. Now remember, that's an 8-pound swing. It may be easier for David Lemieux to make weight, but I would think that he would be similar to Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. When he moves up in weight, it doesn't matter. The lack of discipline and effort in the gym will carry over, and he will still not make weight at 168. You watch. He's going to come in overweight. But he can't fight anybody that doesn't stand right in front of him and let him knock him out. He can't. Anybody with movement will take care of Lemieux. It's a shame. But anyway, he says, in Poland, there was a massive combat sports card featuring kickboxing, a couple of MMA fights, and several boxing matches under one promotion. I wasn't able to find the streams of it, but I saw Artur Spitska got a win over Dominic Gwynn by decision, and Izagabe Yuganov stopped Fred Cassie in 3 rounds. I feel Azu has potential, even though he lost his previous fight to Dominic Brazil in the beginning of 2017. Thanks for the email. Dominic Brazil is not an easy win, I'm telling you. He's slow, he's big and strong, and can catch and take a big punch. That's going to be the fight that Wilder is in next, unless they fight AJ. I don't think it's happening. I think that we're going to see Anthony Joshua fight Povetkin and Deontay Wilder fight Dominic Brazil. And let me tell you, I've said it and I'm going to say it again. Both of those, this is where these guys, the greed and the advice that their teams are giving them are failing them. Because in this case, both of these fights are going to be extremely hard for these guys. Deontay Wilder is not going to have an easy way with Dominic Brazil. It's not going to happen. Brazil takes a punch, and I think that Deontay Wilder is going to take him lightly. You know what? When you watch Deontay Wilder fight a guy that he doesn't take lightly, he looks pretty good. And I think we saw that with Luis Ortiz, all right? We saw that with Artur Spitska. We actually saw that in the first time, even though he's not good. We know this now. But in the first fight with when he won the title. And the rematch, obviously, he took him lightly. But, the truth of the matter is when he takes a fighter lightly, he just goes in for the kill. And if he does that against Dominic Brazil and shoots his load, so to speak, Brazil could come back. I don't know. And considering that Anthony Joshua has had many problems with shorter fighters, I don't see that being an easy fight with AJ against Povetkin. I think that both of these fights are dangerous for these guys, and they shouldn't risk the big payday. I'm telling you, they shouldn't. But anyway, thanks for the emails, guys. A couple of things that we will get to tomorrow. Triple G Canelo looks like they're not moving forward with the rematch, or at least it's hit a couple of snags. We'll talk about that. How about Eric Molina receiving a 2-year ban following his fight with Anthony Joshua, and Canelo only got 6 months. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. I got some updates with Vasily Lomachenko, Kubrat Pulev, and Dillian White. Jean Pascal retired. Oh, wait, no, he's back. So that's some stuff we're going to talk about tomorrow. But one last thing I wanted to discuss today was Adrian Broner. It was reported last week that Adrian Broner was offered a promotional deal from Matchroom Boxing, Eddie Hearn, and he turned it down. As a matter of fact, he referred to it as a slave contract. The way the deal said was basically a 3-fight deal. He said that Broner would fight in September, make $2 million. He'd fight in March for $2.25 million, and he'd fight a third time in 2019 for $2.5 million, which is higher than Broner's previous purses. And Broner says, basically that's a slave contract. I say that Broner's a dumb idiot, because here's the deal: forget about the total price. A offer that he would make over these 3 fights over 2-year span, not even a full 2-year span. But here's the thing: if Broner was smart, and which he obviously is not, first of all, who's pounding down Adrian Broner's door with boatloads of cash for him to fight? Nobody. And the fights that he does get offered are not winnable fights. If he had half a brain, if he had the Scarecrow's brain from The Wizard of Oz, which he doesn't, he should take this deal, and I'll tell you why. Because those 3 fights would be against winnable opposition. He doesn't have to fight the world's best for those. I would let Eddie Hearn promote me. I would make, the almost $7 million in purses over an 18-month period. And I would build my persona back up, my image back up, right? And then the 4th fight, which could be a big money fight against a big-time opponent, now he's a free agent again. Now he can take and maneuver himself into a big payday. He's stupid to think that he's going to get more than it's the same thing as Wilder. When you look at Wilder, he's never made more than $2.5 million. And now all of a sudden he's wants 10 times that. But the difference between Wilder and Broner is Wilder hasn't lost yet, and people are interested in seeing Wilder because his fights are entertaining. Broner, it's not so entertaining. And I mean, they can be. And I think he made a mistake. I honestly do. I think that Adrian Broner should have taken this deal and used it to his advantage. Instead of calling it a slave contract, be the smarter guy and say, okay, I take it. But make sure that the contract states that he gets the right of refusal for any of the fights that are presented by Eddie Hearn with nothing that would position him to nullify the contract. So in other words, force Eddie Hearn to give him winnable fights for those 3 fights for that kind of money. He'll go fight in England. He'll become, if he keeps his nose clean, he could right the ship, get his image fixed a little bit to a degree. And then after that contract is up, go for the jugular. Oh, God, all of a sudden somebody must be yawning somewhere because now I got it and I'm ready to nod out here. But that's because I'm talking about Adrian Broner, and he's not exactly an interesting guy. But just remember one thing. Rock Nation, and this is how stupid Broner is. Rock Nation going back 4 years ago, in 2014, offered Broner a 5-year, $40 million deal, and Broner turned that one down. I bet he's kicking himself in the ass for that today, huh? Because in that 5 years, which we haven't even reached yet, he would have never made the $40 million. Then again, Rock Nation's not in business anymore, so to speak. So we'll see what happens there. But I don't know. Eddie Hearn, the top promoter in boxing today. If I'm Adrian Broner, I'd take that deal and run with it. That's for sure. Our trivia question from Friday was a gift. I got a lot of correct answers, and it just goes to show you that you guys actually listen to what I'm saying. But the question was, who is the only fighter to beat a former world heavyweight champion in his pro debut? The winner of that, which we did get, is my man Johnston. Congratulations to Johnston. He was the first one to get the correct answer, and the correct answer is my friend John Carlo. Johnny Bombs Carlo had a career record of 14 wins and 2 losses. He made his pro debut on October 22nd in 1994 in Washington, D.C. at 33 years old, and knocked out former world champion Leon Spinks in the very first round. I have it on video. It's a funny story. He was supposed to, Leon Spinks was supposed to fight somebody else who got injured. John Carlo was training a fighter that he and I worked with together. And they basically said, come on, you're in good shape, fight him, and he's like, okay, they threw some money at him. And John Carlo admitted to me many times that he was scared to death. And he went in there and landed a shot on Leon, saw Spinks go down. Leon Spinks got up, and John Carlo just went after him and dropped him again. And then the third time knocked him out, and the fight was over. At that time, Leon Spinks had a record of 25 wins, 15 losses, and 3 draws. He fought 2 more times after this fight. One time he won an 8-round decision on June 19th in 1995 against Ray Kipping, who stepped into the ring at 1 win, 2 losses, and a draw. And then in his final fight on December 4th in 1995, Leon Spinks lost to Fred Hoop, who had a record of 13-3 going into the fight, and he went 8 rounds with Hoop, losing a unanimous decision, which ultimately, finally, and rightfully so, ended the career of Leon Spinks. So congratulations to Johnston. I sent him his very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game, and we have another copy of the game that will go on right now. We are going to ask another trivia question, and this is available to everyone but my man Coach, because Coach actually got this answer correct when I asked this question once before. So don't be trying to bribe Coach into giving you the answer, because he's not going to do it, because he's a stand-up guy. So here's the question. And if you're the first one to email me this correct answer, you will win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. And it's what do these two fighters have in common? What do Jersey Joe Walcott and Mike Colbert both have in common? What do Jersey Joe Walcott and Mike Colbert both have in common? If you're the first one to email me the correct answer, Billy@TalkinBoxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, then you will win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game, the same game that Alex uses for the Blast from the Past. So if you can email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win that copy. So if you're the first one to get this question correct, what do Jersey Joe Walcott and Mike Colbert both have in common? You'll win the prize. So good luck to everyone on that. And finally, on this day, May 28th in 1989, In Chul Beck knocks out Fulgencio Obelmayas in the 11th round to win the WBA World Super Middleweight title. It took place in Korea. On this day in 1934, one of my favorite all-time fighters and one of the best lightweights of all time, Barney Ross, wins a 15-round decision over Jimmy McLaren to win the World Welterweight title, and that took place in Long Island City, New York. Barney Ross, what a story. A lightweight champion, junior welterweight, and welterweight champion, served in the service, came back out addicted to morphine, and because he was injured in battle. And what did they give him to get off of morphine? They gave him heroin, and he became a heroin addict, beat that, and lived the rest of his life trying to help others. But what a great fighter, Barney Ross. What a great story. Watching his parents get shot to death in the family-owned grocery store, which turned him to the sport. But Barney Ross was a buddy of Al Capone and everything else. Was one of those guys you wanted to hang with, Barney Ross. He's also, I think, was voted one of the all-time great Jewish athletes as well. But anyway, on this. Another note here, McLaren would win a 15-round decision over Ross to reclaim his title in September of 1934. So they fought this one in May, then they fought again in September. However, on May 28th, a year later in 1935, Barney Ross wins a 15-round decision to win the World Welterweight title back, and that fight took place in New York City, one of the great three-fight trilogies, so to speak, in the history of the sport, McLaren against Barney Ross. On this day in 1917, Benny Leonard knocks out Freddie Welsh in the 9th round to win the world lightweight title. It took place in New York City. Benny Leonard, one of the best fighters of all time that most people forget. This was a guy that was instrumental in Sugar Ray Robinson's career. He was way ahead of his time. If you ever want to try and punch up some stuff on Benny Leonard, check that out. Also on this day, May 28th in 1941, Tony Zale knocks out Al Hostek in the 2nd round to retain his world middleweight title, and that took place in Chicago. And finally, on this day, May 28th in 1975, former world heavyweight champion and boxing Hall of Famer Ezra Charles dies from ALS at age 53. Charles was one of the most underrated and underappreciated fighters of all time. He finished with a 93-win, 25-loss, and 1-draw record and was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1990. Not only do a lot of people forget Ezra Charles, but Ezra Charles fought as a middleweight, and then people do remember him as a heavyweight champion. But he also fought and got beat up and should have won, and he would have won by today's standards should he have fought Rocky Marciano today. He had Rocky's nose flapping, literally was separated from his face in that fight, and they let it continue. But his passing from ALS, which people call Lou Gehrig's disease, at 53. I mean, I'm 4 years older than he passed away with all of his accomplishments, and he was also part of the famed Murderers Row, which was a bunch of black fighters that no one wanted to fight. Ezra Charles, because he went up into the upper weight classes, got a chance, but guys like Charlie Burley never did. But Ezra Charles died on this day in 1975. Hey, listen, glad to have you take some time on this holiday. And yeah, we do shows on holidays, but a programming note, we will not be doing a show this Friday. So anybody that missed this show today and is expecting one on Friday, well, you messed up. Hey, listen, make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.